Good evening, Bante. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Congratulations, you made it. We have finished. This is the last of the years. I hope you're clapping because I finished. Okay. All right. Now, today's talk will not be very deep. Basically, it will be a rounding up of the 10 weeks or so that we have been going in this course. 10, 11? 10. 10 weeks, yeah. And in these last 10 weeks, we went through what is basically the teachings of the Buddha at a very, very basic level. For a lot of you, it was a revision lesson, yeah. For some of you, it was something very new. Now, the Buddha had always said, while theoretical knowledge is important, we cannot stop at the theory. That theory has to be translated into practice. All right? And that practice is what actually makes the Buddhist. Because Buddhism is not for thinking about. Buddhism is for actually practicing and seeing the results here and now. Yeah, one of the qualities of the Dhamma that the Buddha taught is it is akalika. Akalika, one meaning is it is timeless. Another meaning is it's got immediate results. Meaning that you do not have to have faith. You do not have to have faith in the future. Whatever the Buddha teaches you, if you understand it and then you practice it, the results are immediate. Meaning that even if you want to go to heaven, you don't have to wait until you die. In Buddhism, the heavenly state can be created in your mind here and now. And one of the tests, the Buddha also says, Ehi passiko, come and see for yourself. Don't come and believe what I say, practice it. And one of the tests of the teaching of the Buddha is if you practice it, the immediate happiness that you gain. Yeah, it's a very low level happiness, there's a very high level happiness that comes later. But immediately you are encouraged to go forward. Okay? Provided, of course, a lot of people lose their hope because they have the wrong expectations. Now, many, many times we have had people who have asked the Buddha to cure their sickness, asked the Buddha to solve their financial problems, asked their Buddha to get rid of their wives. Okay, and of course that is the Buddha's, not the Buddha's job. And the Buddha has clearly said, I am not here to provide instant results. Yeah, and you can't pray to me and I will come and help you on a personal level. And so when you ask the Buddha the wrong thing and then you don't get it, don't blame the Buddha. You see? Because you must clearly know. That is why we have this theoretical knowledge. This is why we give lectures on Buddhism. So that you know what to expect. And if you don't have the wrong expectations, then you don't get disappointed. A lot of people, they get disappointed because they ask for the wrong thing. They have the wrong understanding. They have the wrong expectation of what the Buddha wants to do or what he will not do or what he cannot do. The Buddha clearly says, I cannot save you. The Buddha clearly says, just by calling out my name, I am not going to send you up to heaven. I can't. I can't. What he says is, I was a human being just like you. And by applying what I discovered, I found happiness. You too have, what I have discovered, I have revealed to you. Having revealed to you, you put it to practice and you must walk the path. Yeah? No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. The Buddhas merely show the way. Two things. We must walk the path. We must walk the path. You cannot just sit there and say, oh, I changed my name, I wear this yellow robe. Yellow robe lah. So, you wear the yellow thread, that is no guarantee that you are doing the right thing. You got to practice it. That's the lesson number one. Lesson number two also is, don't expect immediate results. It is a gradual path. And little by little you improve. Yeah? We always say in Buddhism, we do not want faith. Buddhism is not a faith-based religion. That's not quite correct. To a certain extent, you do need a bit of faith. Faith in what? Faith that this teaching of the Buddha will, while it will give immediate results, the immediate results are not so visible. But eventually, you will be able to see the results becoming more and more clear. Okay? Now, we don't use the word faith. A faith implies a blind surrender to the Buddha. That, in Buddhism, we say you don't blindly surrender yourself and expect the Buddha to do everything for you. That is blind faith. In its place, we use a different word. It's called Shraddha. Shraddha is a confidence. A confidence, for example, if you go to the hospital, and I remember this actually happened to me, when you are really, really sick and you are in the hospital, and a doctor, this guy in a white shirt, he comes and he holds your hand, suddenly you already feel better. Alright? He probably is the janitor who was passing by and saw this little fella. But when you see that, you already get that confidence. Yeah? And that is not faith in the doctor. But look, he is a doctor. He's gone through so many years of training. And he has helped other people. This already puts me in the right mood. And that's all. Again, of course, when we are always told in Buddhism, use your intelligence. Because you are manusya. That's first one. Second, use your rational thinking. Alright? And when you do these two, and you look around you, and you see how the world is going, and how much violence there is in the name of religion, and you see that Buddhists are generally out of it. Even when they do seem to be involved in violence. Yeah, a few days ago I was in Tiratana Klang, and there I was talking about whether Buddhism is a passive religion. And there I said, I was invited to give the talk. When people ask you to give a talk, you wonder why do they ask you to give that particular talk. You know, and in this case I said, because we have been seeing what's happening in Tibet. Well, actually the Beijing Games, yeah, the Olympic torch has been dragged into it, and Buddhism has been brought forward. Then we saw Myanmar. Then we are looking what's happening in southern Thailand. Then we are looking at what's happening in Sri Lanka. And the impression seems to be given that Buddhists have also joined the club. Okay, and they also subscribe to violence. Oh no, not at all. When you look at what happened in Myanmar particularly, you can see, yes, they asserted their rights. And as a Buddhist, you must assert your rights, number one. Number two, when you see others suffering, you cannot sit around and do nothing. You see, what happened with those monks in Myanmar was, they saw that their people had no food. the price of petrol was going up, etc., etc., etc. You see, and so they can't just sit and say, metta, karuna, mudita. And then say, lotus flower, I stay on the lotus as long as you give me my dana, it's okay. They said, no, we have to do something about it. And the way they went about it was non-violently. Right? Perhaps those guys with the Olympic torch, they did go violent. But the Dalai Lama constantly reminded them, no, you don't use violence. There are other ways of asserting yourself. Then, when somebody uses violence and calls himself a Buddhist, he is not a Buddhist. So you can wear the label, and then you can go and burn people's houses. You are not being a Buddhist. You are not following the teachings of the Buddha. So this has to be very clear. So when they became violent to bring attention to the suffering of the people in Tibet, they were not doing Buddhist actions. We have to distance ourselves from it. And I think the Malaysians, remember that Sunday, all the religions came together to draw attention to the fact that the Tibetans were not happy, with the fact that some people were sitting on their heads. And it is the right of a human being to determine who governs him. And if that is not done, something is wrong. But we don't have to advocate violence to do that. Okay? So, what is a Buddhist and what is, I always tell you, Buddhist and Buddhist are two different things altogether. Okay? Think about that. Okay? Right. Now, I've forgotten I was going to give a talk on daily Buddhist living. You can get carried away. Okay, right. Now, first of all, you are all here. Hopefully, all of you call yourselves Buddhists. But do you know what it means to be a Buddhist? So, who is a lay Buddhist? That's you and me. Okay? Now, I told you this will be revision because a lot of this has already been explained before. We must remember that the Buddhist community consists of 4 parts. The one half is the Sangha, the monks and the nuns. The other half is the lay people. So, Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Bhikkhu monk, Bhikkhuni nun, and Upasaka, Upasika. Okay? Upasaka, Upasika. And this is lay man and lay woman. Now these 4 together form the community. The first 2, they are more into spiritual matters, and the second 2, that's us, we are more into lay matters. And our concerns, we are not ready to give up the sacrifices that are required when you become a monk or a nun. There's a huge amount of sacrifice to be made. Alright? And on the other hand, we are not ready for that, but we can still follow a spiritual path. Okay? So how did the teaching of the Buddha help us? During the time of the Buddha itself, the Buddha never forced anyone to become a monk. He taught, he showed that is the more desirable way if you have the right understanding. The story that comes to mind is the Buddha's own cousin, Nanda. Nanda was the Buddha's cousin, and when Nanda got married, the Buddha was invited for dana. But the Buddha knew with his supernormal vision that Nanda was ready to give up their life. That is as a bridegroom on his wedding day. Alright? Is madly in love. And on the wedding day, everybody is madly in love. Okay? And so was Nanda. Now, The Buddha knew, and the Buddha did not preach to him. This is another great quality of the Buddha. The Buddha used, to my mind, a very, very subtle trick, and I could almost see the Buddha smiling as he was doing this. You see, the custom was, when the Buddha had finished his meal and it is time for him to go back to Jetavana monastery, it was time for him to leave. And his bowl had to be carried by Nanda. So Nanda carries the bowl, and then as the Buddha reaches, the Buddha is walking, he's supposed to give it back to the Buddha. But the Buddha ignores him. And of course the Buddha is the senior, the senior person in their family, and this is a junior guy, and so he shows this bowl to the Buddha, and the Buddha smilingly moves a bit further forward, and it goes on and on and on until he actually reaches the monastery. And by this time, Nanda is already very, very upset. He's thinking of his bride, and he's thinking of his honeymoon. And here he is following, a monk back to the temple. At the temple, the Buddha turns around and says, Nanda, okay, you can give me the bowl, but how about ordaining? But he cannot say no to the Buddha. So he said, okay, all right. So the Buddha shaves him, and then he becomes a monk. But this poor fellow, he has no desire to be a monk. He is thinking of the bride he left behind. And so he's moping around, and in one corner and in another corner. And sometimes you see monks doing that. Just, okay, right. And well, somebody did explain this to me. Reverend Vimala Jodi explained to me. He said, why is it some monks are so happy to be monks and some monks are so... Alright? And he said that's because some monks renounce their family. In the case of others, the family renounces them. Big difference. So they come in, their minds are still there. Anyway, so Nanda... he becomes a monk, but his mind is still. So the Buddha waits for his time, and the Buddha says, Nanda, what's your problem? No problem. I say, I know there's a problem. What is your problem? He says, I'm supposed to be married, honeymoon. What am I doing? Okay. And the Buddha said, what's up? Why? He said, is your wife very beautiful? Oh yeah, you saw her. She's very beautiful, no? And so you really, really want her? Yeah. Why? Because she's so beautiful. Okay, fine. Is she the most beautiful woman? Oh yeah, she is the most beautiful woman in the world. And I will not trade her for anybody else. He said, okay, since you are so upset, let me take you on a tour. He said, I'm not in the mood for a tour. I said, I'll take you to heaven. Okay. So, Nanda and the Buddha now go to the lowest heaven, and there he sees all the devas, the female devas. They are beautiful. And he is looking at one and another, and the Buddha asked Nanda, what are you doing? No, I'm looking, a few minutes, I'm looking. I said, do you like them? Oh yeah, very nice. Which one would you choose? I think that one. No, I think this one. Oh no, I think that one. And then the Buddha says, these are very beautiful, right? Are they more beautiful than the one that you left behind on earth? Yeah, sure. Okay, then but before you choose, let's go to another heaven. And they go from higher heaven to higher heaven. And each time, Nanda says that this one is more beautiful than the one he left behind. Now the Buddha doesn't say anything. Goes on and on. This is a very important thing in Buddhism. That the mind must change by yourself. By ourselves is evil done. By ourselves become we pure. We ourselves must walk the path. So, as he goes, he realizes that beauty is relative. And there is really no such thing as beauty. And that beauty will change. So, as the realization comes to him that these physical things that I'm grasping are of no use really. So what he does is, he then understands. And then he comes back and he becomes a good monk, so good that he becomes an arahant. Oh, talking about arahant, remember the last week, my driver wasn't here, he could have cleared the point. You remember we said that Suddhodana, the slide said Suddhodana became an arahant, and I said I'm not so sure. I went back and checked. Yes, he did become an arahant, and the Buddha helped him through each of the 4 stages. So he did die an arahant. Okay, so if you are change that thing, okay, or cut off my comment on that. Okay, where am I? When we renounce the fourfold Sangha, those who have renounce with understanding, they don't look back. We are not ready, but we can still practice the spiritual path. And even more so than in Theravada, in Mahayana it says that you can be a householder and still become an arahant. And not only in Mahayana, but as I told you, even King Suddhodana, lay people can become arahants. More difficult, of course. There's more distractions, more challenges. But if you become a monk, there are fewer distractions if you have the right mindset. Okay, so that's the fourfold Sangha. So we are part of the Sangha, but we practice Buddhism differently from the way monks practice it. So that brings us to the next one. When you are a Buddhist, you must know the difference between happiness and pleasure. Pleasure is something that satisfies the senses. Pleasure is something which is impermanent. And in that impermanence is the source of dukkha. And that was this afternoon something happened, I was thinking about it. That you see, when you love something, that loving something is the source of displeasure. Yes, my grandson fell from the staircase in school. He fell from the staircase and we thought he'd cracked a bone. Okay? When we heard that, we felt, poor thing, he broke his bone. Let us all run. So the whole bloody family, the clan ran to Pantai Medical Center. Found out he'd only stretched a ligament. Okay? But if our neighbor's son had fallen the same steps and we had heard the same story, say, okay, never mind. Grandson, okay or not? Okay, no problem. You see, when we love somebody, in that loving somebody is the source of our thing. That is pleasure. Pleasure is something which is impermanent. Okay? And when we as lay people run after all these things, we must know clearly in our minds those things that give us this, satisfy our senses, they are termed pleasure. Happiness, on the other hand, is something which is permanent. Happiness cannot go backwards. Alright? And that is our final aim. It is okay as lay people to enjoy the pleasures of the lay life. Middle path. It's okay to have wealth. It's okay to have a car. It's okay to enjoy the pleasures that lay life can afford us. But that should not be our ultimate aim. While we are pursuing pleasure, our ultimate aim must always be permanent, unchanging happiness, which we call nirvana. So in our daily life, we have to pursue happiness while indulging in pleasure. The meaning of those two words, I have already explained the meaning of Shraddha. A Buddhist is one who has confidence that if he follows the path laid out by the Buddha, who did so because of his own personal experience, and every time I follow this path, I get to see the results myself. Okay? Now, I got waylaid earlier when I talked about the violence that's going on. My point is that when we look at Buddhists, generally speaking, Buddhists are much less prone to violence, much less prone to taking a violent solution for problems. All right? And when we look around, we say, when we use our intelligence, we say, what is it that makes Buddhists not passive, but not prone to violence and aggression? What is it? It must be the teaching. And that's what's happening in the West today. More and more people are turning to Buddhism because they are beginning to see that Buddhism offers peace at an individual, personal level, if practiced correctly. And when every individual practices peace at a personal level, this translates into a social level. So everybody can become peaceful. And many people in the West are beginning to see that. That's the beginning of Shraddha. So you use your common sense and you gain a confidence that this teaching is probably the answer I am looking for. Okay? So that's the meaning of Shraddha. Follows the middle path, again with non-violence. Yeah? Middle path is to avoid extremes. By definition, you cannot have a Buddhist extremist. You cannot die for Buddhism. You cannot. Okay? You can die for your principles, like those Vietnamese monks who burned themselves. Those, remember, in the past, yeah, and some of the monks in Myanmar who died. You can die for your principles, but you are not dying to protect Buddhism. The Dhamma knows how to look after itself. It doesn't need you to fight for it, or to kill anybody else to make them become Buddhists. Okay, so now the middle path. As a Buddhist, throughout your day, from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed, you must follow the path of moderation. Moderation in everything, not only in your physical dress, the food you eat and so on, but even how you react to situations. That is very important. Now, who is a lay Buddhist? He is one who is moderate in everything. Okay? Then it follows the 5 precepts. Yeah, you know what the 5 precepts are. They are charita and varita. Varita is to avoid. I will not kill, I will not steal, I will not 5 times. But that does not make you passive. It is not simply sitting down here, fold your arms, and say, I will not kill. Thich Nhat Hanh, I think I got the pronunciation right. Thich Nhat Hanh saw that when the 5 precepts are presented negatively, Buddhists get the idea that they must be passive, sit around, do nothing. Buddhism is not sit around and do nothing at all. Buddhism is to be totally engaged. Totally engaged. And so Thich Nhat Hanh says, don't say, I will not kill. Say, on the other hand, I will promote life. So charita is to promote life. Varita is to avoid killing. So the avoidance is negative, but while you do that, you don't stop. You promote. I will not only will I not take anything not given to me, adinna dana veramani, I will also protect other people's property. Okay? I will not go into somebody else's country and say this belonged to me 1,000 years ago. Okay? If the people want it, that's a different story. Okay? So, charita and varita. Then comes a more difficult one. Higher level is to be unattached. Now, of course, as lay people, I just told you the story of my grandson, we are attached. But we must realize that that attachment is the source of our suffering. So, it is okay to have money. It is okay to have a lot of money. It is okay to expend all the energy that we have to make all the money in the world. Be a Bill Gates, no problem. But the Buddha warns us, do not be attached to that money. It's not my money. Yeah? Putam mati danam mati ito balo vihannati attahi attanonati kuto puto kuto danam. I think only they can tell. I also can. Okay, right. Okay. I get very jealous when Kevin Tan, he goes off like that, and I can't go as fast as he can. But anyway, what is this one? This is Dhammapada. Sons have I, wealth have I. Thus is the fool assured. And we saw this in the last elections. All these people who went around grabbing and grabbing and grabbing and grabbing and thinking the world will never change. Yeah? And you had one Makkal Sakti and everything changed. From a most unexpected corner. Yeah? From a most unexpected corner, those who were most attached were the ones who suffered the most. Alright? And this is the lesson we have to learn. That it is okay to have all of this, but no, it is not permanent. It only gives you pleasure. It cannot give happiness. But if you have the wisdom to convert this pleasure into a means of happiness, have the wealth which gives you pleasure, but use that wealth for the benefit of others. The more you give away, the happier you become. Okay? The less you own, the happier you are. That is the ultimate principle. And you must work towards that. Okay? So that is, a lay Buddhist is one who is unattached. Okay? Right. Now, let's completely change the subject and say, okay, now I call myself a Buddhist. What do I do every day? And every time I come for talks, we talk about Abhidhamma, we talk about mind sequence, and we talk about so many breaths and so on. At the end, somebody comes, Uncle Vijaya, you know, my altar cannot face the door, not? You know? They say, what? Here we are talking about Abhidhamma, how to become an Arahant and all that. You want to know which way to turn the door. But that is the concern of most people. And Buddhism actually does address itself to these kind of things. And so, as a Buddhist, ultimately at the higher level, you don't need a temple. You don't need a Buddha image. You don't need any of these things. Yeah? You can just sit under a tree. You don't even need a tree. Okay? The less you need, the easier it is. But that is at a very high level. Yeah? Starbucks, yeah, sit at Starbucks. You can sit at Starbucks and say, idiot, I am spending $28 on a cup of coffee when 3-in-1 is so much cheaper and it is still coffee. Okay? Right. Good. But to come back. So the center of your daily devotion. You call yourself a Buddhist. You are working towards spirituality. And where do I begin? The best place to begin is the family altar. When I said you don't need a temple, you don't need all of these, what I mean is at a very high level. Yeah? These are only means. These are only aids to help you to get there. Okay? can I take a pause and share with you the story you already know? That a man wants to go on a journey, on a very long journey. All right? His destination is the top of a mountain. So he sets off from home, and after 3 days of walking, he comes to a large flooded river. All right? But he has no means of getting across. He cannot swim. And it's too far to swim anyway. He has two options. One option is to kneel down on this side and pray to God and say, God, please ask the other side to come here. Okay? And that's what a lot of people do when they pray to God. It will never happen. Okay? The other alternative is the Buddhist alternative. Use your effort. Use your intelligence. Don't depend on God. Take a parang. Make sure you bring a parang along, of course. All right. You cut down some bamboo. You tie the bamboo. You make a raft, and you row yourself across using your own effort. No one saves us but ourselves. We ourselves must walk the path. But when you have got to the other side, we must remember the raft is only an instrument to get us across. It is not going to save us. It is something we use to get across. When we get across, don't carry the raft on your head, because the raft you must throw away, because your destination is the top of the mountain. When we think of that, we have to remember that all these things that we do in terms of puja and altar and all of these are only a means to get to the other side. Once we have reached the other shore, we don't need any of this. That time the Buddha tells us, he who lives by the Dhamma is protected by the Dhamma. Those of us who are afraid of ghosts, those of us who are afraid the stock exchange is going to collapse, those of you who watch CNN, Nostradamus, the last, by the year 2012, the world is going to come to an end. Did you know that? Yes, 2012. And it's already sure already. And we Buddhists, no problem. Every time we breathe out, the world comes to an end. No big deal. Okay? So, if you are protected by the Dhamma, you don't worry about 2012. You worry about now. Okay? If you die, die lah. It's a big deal. But on the meantime, don't keep all your money in the bank. Save or spend it. Okay? Right. Yeah, one of the principles of economics is to die broke. Don't leave money for your children. Enjoy it. Okay? But make them think you have $1 million, so they'll look after you. Okay? Alright. Okay. So first is the family. Now what constitutes the family altar? Usually a Buddha image. I said usually. Okay? If you are pantang about Buddha images, it's not a problem at all. Okay? You don't need an image, but we usually use the image, and I explained to you, an image is not something you pray to, it's something where you pray at. Meaning, it's that focal point in the family that is our reminder of our spiritual goal. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Okay? And that image reminds us of that. Alright. Then, of course, every day, the family must gather. It's good for the family to gather every day, preferably morning and evening. But even morning is not a bad time at all. We can always claim that we have to get the children to get into the bus. We have got time to think of Buddha. Busman is more important. Okay? But if you spend that extra 5 minutes, a story from Chief Reverend comes to mind. Chief Reverend must have told me this story about 30 years ago, our late Chief, about 30 years ago. And he said that when he first came to Malaysia and he was starting his Dhamma talks, he knew a doctor. And this doctor had 6 children. And each had a room, each child. every day the doctor would put one verse of the Dhammapada on the children's door. And every morning when the children woke up, they would read that verse from the Dhammapada. They didn't even understand the verse, but they used to read it. And they read it every day until they grew up. And they all became very, very successful, very happy people. Okay? And it was that little thing. You see, that spirituality that was put into the family. But to do that, the doctor needed a lot of Shraddha himself, and he needed a lot of patience. It was not something that he could happen instantly. He nurtured his children very subtly over many years. Okay? So the importance of the family altar as a psychological meeting point. Alright? And the image itself as a reminder of the path. Alright. Then of course, questions are always asked, what do we put in front? Is an electric lamp okay? Must I put a candle can or not? Must I have oil lamp? Yeah? Oil lamp was 2000 years ago. Today is electric. Okay? And the Buddha doesn't need the light. He's already enlightened. So he's not going to tell you, you send this cheap looking candle, I won't give you any favors. It's not what you do, it's what's in your mind. Alright? In your mind. In my home, for example, the oil lamp, we have an oil lamp and an electric lamp. You know? Why? Because insurance policy. Alright? Why? Because the oil lamp is something that's very traditional to our culture. To us, the oil lamp has a meaning which the electric light does not have. The beauty of the oil lamp, the flickering of the light, no electric light can come near. Okay? But we have both. In case the oil lamp goes off, the electric light takes over. Okay? That's if you wish. Don't forget, it's very dangerous if your house is left unattended to leave an oil lamp burning. Okay? So, security reasons are to take away. Flowers. Do you need to keep flowers all the time? Nice if you can. If you can't, weekends. Alright? Even if you can't do that, it's okay. The flower should be in your mind. Now, many questions are asked, where do I put the altar? Alright? I live in a one-room flat. Alright? And the only place I have is one little corner, and when I put the Buddha image there, it faces the toilet. What do I do? Okay? Well, it's better to have a Buddha image facing the toilet than no at all. What you can do is do what they do in Nalanda, put a small little screen so the Buddha cannot see what you are doing. Okay? A little screen hanging. Use your imagination, and it's a point to be taken is there is no pantang. You must do this. If you don't do this, 7 years bad luck. We don't have that in Buddhism at all. What we have is, here is an important image, yeah, and it's something that's important, something that you treat with respect. Knowing that the image itself has no magic in it, but what it represents has an enormous amount of respect. So it does not matter. I think I told you once that if you are living upstairs, downstairs, usually by tradition, we never have a Buddha image where we can walk over. Yeah? Always, if you go to any temple, you will see the image is in a place that there is no access to people to walk over the image. Again, in the West, sometimes you can't help it. And if you're not doing it with disrespect, that's the important thing. Again, by culture, we would never sit with our feet facing a Buddha image. You'll notice that even in the temple and all, when people are seated, old people usually, they'll make a lot of effort to turn the feet away from the Buddha image. You never sleep with your feet facing the image. So when you place the image, make sure that it happens. If you cannot, it is okay. It is perfectly okay. It is your intention to respect the image. Okay. Now, it says there 5-point prostration. I could not for a long time figure out what the 5 points were. I know this one. I know feet 2 and knees 3. So 1, 2, 3. So where the other 2 come from? And I was always hoping people will not ask me the question. Now they can. Because I read about 2 weeks ago only. 5 point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the head, the 2 arms and the 2 feet. That makes it 5. 2 plus 2, 4 plus 1, 5. So that's the 5-point prostration. One time a boy told me, why should I have to lower myself like that? You don't have to if you don't want to. In our culture, we do it. Alright? But if you have other means, ways of showing your respect to the Buddha, by all means. Okay? The respect. And that respect treats you. Why do we do this? We humble ourselves. We don't humiliate ourselves. We humble ourselves. Now, before I started the talk, I humbled myself in front of Venerable Kasyapa. In so doing, I didn't lower myself. Yeah, I acknowledge that he is the living representative of the Buddha in an unbroken chain. So by doing this, I am extending a thing that has been happening for so many years. Okay? So it's how you view it. Okay. Then, what do you offer? Flowers. Why do you offer flowers? To show everything is impermanent. The flowers, it's not something that you must do. But in the doing, you must know why you are putting the flowers there. Flowers, of course, very beautiful. But flowers are very impermanent. And that reminds you of your impermanence. Incense is unreal. Yeah, there's nice fragrance, but no reality within it. Fruits, of course, rather than offer meat and so on, this offering of fruit goes back 20, 30,000 years. Our ancestors, always made offerings to the deities, to spirits. Because the belief that these spirits give us things. It reminds us of our agricultural past. 1. 2, in offering a fruit, you are not hurting any being. That's why we offer fruits rather than... If you want to offer oranges, it's extra because it brings you on. Okay? Alright? The water, of course. Why do you offer the water? Because it reminds you of the consciousness which has to be pure. Okay? And if your consciousness must be as pure as the water you are offering. Alright? And we do this as a family every morning, every evening, with the verses attached. Okay? Right, next. Okay. What should a Buddhist home be like? Well, any home for that matter. First of all, it's where there is love in the home is filled with happiness. What is love? Love is Brahma Vihara. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. These 4 forms of love, not just one. Usually when we talk about love, there's a difference between Metta, Maitri and Pema. Pema is sensual. That is lust. That is associated with sex and ownership. But in a home where we have metta, where everybody, beginning with yourself, may I be well and happy. Then you extend that same, because you are feeling good within you. You feel everybody is the same. And you extend this loving kindness to every member of the family, including the maids and the pets. Everything that lives in your house. Yeah, we radiate this metta, this loving kindness. We have a very strong belief that if you have that, you create vibrations in the house. And these vibrations clear away, yeah, evil states. Okay? It's a strong belief and it makes a lot of sense. Okay? Right. If there is discord, the home will be wrecked. You know that. When discord arises within a family, do not blame others. Always, if there is a problem in the house, ask yourself, how did I contribute to it? Always, it's easy to say, I am not at fault. It's the other party. Reminds me of a woman who told her husband, I was an idiot when I married you. He said, yes, I know, but I was too young to notice that. Think about that. Okay, another wife told her husband, a man told his, a woman told a man, actually Bernard Shaw. I said, if you were my husband, I will give you poison. He looked at her and he said, if you were my wife, I will drink it. Okay. So don't blame others for whatever happens. If you look at yourself and try and rationally figure out how did you contribute, then the best thing that will happen is that you will have time to think. And when you have time to think, there's time to cool down. Okay? Right, next. Right. A husband and wife, by the way, these graphics are not mine. Okay, a home where both partners do all good deeds is the ideal home. Where you live by the metta, karuna, mudita, upekka. Yeah, these 4 states. Yeah, it's where live according to the principles. What are the principles? The 5 precepts. The 5 precepts relating to the members of the family. And I emphasize this, it includes the maids. If anyone in the family, the maid or a pet, is not happy, then the vibrations go wrong. And it is not something that can be done by praying to the Buddha. Keep a Buddha image in the home and expect everything to be solved. No way. The Buddha image is there to remind you of your duty to promote the 4 sublime states. So it's a lot of hard work. Okay? It's not to do with prayer. Prayer helps. But prayer is not the solution. Hard work. Okay? Right. It generates an atmosphere. A husband should treat his wife with respect, with courtesy, with fidelity. Okay? That is our job. Now women, take note. A wife should take pains with her housekeeping, manage the servants wisely. Manage the servants wisely. Alright? And the Buddha gives how we should do that. By the way, this is taken from the Sigalovada Sutra. The Buddha taught mainly for the benefit of monks and nuns. But at the same time, he gave enough teachings for lay people to conduct their family life. Which means that the Buddha did not disapprove of family life. He he actually encouraged those who are not ready. Okay. Having said that, in one of the sutras is called the Sigalovada Sutra, where he talks to a young man called Sigala, telling him that in a family, there are 2 things that we must never forget. That while we have rights, we have responsibilities as well. So in the first line, the wife's right is to be treated with respect, courtesy and fidelity. Alright? But while that's her right, she has responsibilities. Her responsibility is to look after the house. Now, this is 2,500 years ago. But the Buddha's teaching allows us to see it in today's thing. In today's society, husband and wife both work. So they both go out and they both come home. So the thing has changed slightly. A husband cannot expect to come home and let the wife do all the work. If the wife stays at home, that's a different story. So, in Buddhism, it is very clearly stated that the husband has to take part in bringing up the family. And so does the wife. Okay? And how you treat servants and so on. Manage the servants wisely and not waste her husband's income. Okay? I know a lot of wives say, that fella, he always goes out, never comes home, never mind, I spend lah. Okay? It should be a two-way traffic. Now, there are 4 types. Now let's see where you belong. Buddha said there are 4 types. A male devil living with a female devil. Can you imagine what type of... There's a lot of houses like that. Yeah? Male devil living with a female devil. Male devil living with a female god. Okay. A male god living with a female devil. Okay. Right. And of course, the final one, a male god living with a female god. And we know homes like this, where everybody, including the maid. Just now, this morning we saw something very beautiful. My wife always notices, we have a little park in front of our house. And there is this maid, Indonesian maid. Always from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, she walks around the park. My wife got friendly with her and said, how come every day this time? She said, I get up at 5, I prepare the breakfast, I send the children off to school. Once the children are gone off to school, my boss says, I have this time to myself. Now, here is a great boss. Alright, so she is allowed to do whatever she wants during that 1 hour, and she chooses to walk. She comes home, she's a much happier person. Okay? Quite unlike, sometimes I go to work about 6 o'clock, I see the maid washing the car in front of the house. Bit too early. Okay, right. Next. Yeah. Parents and children, again, there must be mutual respect between parents. I think a lot of problem with our Asian homes is parents think that they have the right to bring up their children exactly the way they want it. Times have changed, and 2,500 years ago, the Buddha already told us that parents must respect their children. Parents must respect their children for what they are. A 5-year-old is to be respected as a 5-year-old. Alright? And as they grow, that respect. But at the same time, the parents have a right to be respected by the children. And this is monkey see, monkey do. Right? How do you treat your parents? How do you treat your aunts and uncles? Alright? Children pick up a lot of these values. Alright? Who's on the phone? My father. Okay? And then your face. Hi, how are you? You want some more money? You see, children pick up these. But that comes from you not having metta. Okay? Of course, by the way, please, I'm talking only. I don't practice. Okay? Because if I did, I won't be here. Okay? Right. So rights versus responsibility. Yeah, go on, please. Yeah. The Buddha taught that it is very difficult for a son. This is constant. That is why we say it's very important for children to come to Sunday school and learn the values of a Buddhist way of life, which we don't pick up from the CNN or from television. The Buddhist values, which are not Buddhist values, they are Chinese values, they are Asian values. The respect that children have to give their parents. The gratitude. That's why to me things like Cheng Beng are very beautiful. They are not Buddhist, but they should not be abandoned. Because they teach our young ones that even when our parents die, we must remember them. And when we do that, they learn what is gratitude. Okay? Right. The only way to repay the great debt is to lead parents to the Buddha's teaching. Only a few days ago, somebody asked me this question. My mother is a Taoist, and my mother does all kinds of things which are not Buddhist. How do I bring my mother to this side? Okay. Long time ago, I think Chief Reverend answered that question. He says, as she calls herself a Taoist, but is she a hateful person? Oh no. Is she an angry? Oh no. Does she simply kill animals? No. She's actually a very strict vegetarian. So what's the problem? She's a better Buddhist than you. You see, and this is what the Dalai Lama once told on TV. A woman asked, she said, I'm a Christian, I want to become a Buddhist. How do I do it? So the Dalai Lama said, why do you want to become a Christian? Do you think you'll become any better if you change your religion? Remain a Christian, but be a good Christian. Good Christians don't kill, don't steal, don't commit sexual misconduct. Bad Buddhists do all that. Which one do you want? I challenge any other pastor's church to say what I just said. Okay? Right. The only way to repay but on the other hand, some parents did not have the advantage that you have of listening to the Dhamma and so on. So it says that one of your duties is to make parents understand this. But don't be a smart ass. Right? And you say, I became a Buddhist. You all don't understand anything. You all are uneducated fellows. I must teach you Buddhism. Okay, sit. Now, tell me 5 precepts. What is 5 precepts? Panatipata. You explain to me. Okay? Don't treat your parents like that. Okay? Right. Parents in turn. A child should honor his parents. And do for them all that he is supposed to do. One of the things they are expected to do as part of the family culture is do not disgrace your family name. Protect the family inheritance. Do not disgrace the family name. I think I told you that I always tell my students before an exam, please write your name. They do the whole exam but forget to write the name. Okay, so I always tell them, write the name, but don't write your surname. I don't want you to disgrace your family. Okay. Parents in turn should do that. By giving example, teach them to avoid evil. Set example by doing good. Monkey see, monkey do. You enjoy coming to the temple, so will they. Alright? You enjoy sending them to the temple while you run off, so will they. Okay? So, a family that works within the culture. Alright? This family is very hard to go wrong. Okay? Right. Give them an education. Arrange for their marriage. Uncle Vijaya, this is the 21st century. Arrange. If I told my son who he is, he'll tell me, marry her yourself. That's not what we mean. We have, over the last 30 or 40 years that I've been working in this temple, I've met young boys and young girls who have come to the temple, done Dhamma work and so on, fell in love, and today they are on the verge of becoming grandparents already. Alright? And because both come from the same understanding of the Buddhist background. So many, I don't want to mention names, but it's the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to mention it. But there are very, very happily married couples who met here, who got married here, whose first thing they did when the baby was born to come here. Alright? And now their children are in the university already. And I've watched them grow up. And they are losing their hair already. Okay? Right. So that's what we mean. Introduce them to Buddhist values and introduce them to people with Buddhist values. And then when both get together, they know what to expect. Yeah. I don't have anything particularly against mixed marriages in terms of mixed religion, but it does create lots of problems. Particularly because Buddhists, Hindus and Sikhs are more passive, and they tend to sit around and let things happen. Whereas the more aggressive religions make sure that they get their way. So it is the reason to bring children here. Don't say, oh, I let my children choose. You cannot let your children choose when they are 6 or 7 years old to whether they want to come to the temple or not. Yeah? If they choose to go to another religion after you have done your duty of teaching them Buddhism, then by all means. But if they know nothing about Buddhism because of your ignorance or your negligence, and then they go to another religion, then you have to bear the karmic result. Be careful. Okay, I cannot frighten you all. Okay, right. Now, Buddhism does not consider material welfare, as I have mentioned this. Material welfare is good, but it's not an end in itself. But the Buddha says material welfare is important. A man who is worrying where his next meal is coming from has no time to worry about panatipata. Alright? If you are, as all of you are, yeah, materially, not well off, but materially okay, you have time to follow your spiritual pursuits. If you don't have that, then you can. So the Buddha says material welfare is important. Okay? Right. Certain material requisites are necessary. 4 things are conducive to happiness. You must be skillful, efficient, earnest and energetic in your profession. What the Buddha says is, now that's what we have to emphasize to our children, that education and training is vitally important. That we have to see to it that our children learn. It's not simply letting them go. Sometimes, of course, we go to the other extreme and become kiasu. We have to worry about that as well. Yeah. My niece is a psychologist in Melbourne, and she said she has been advising a lot of university students who have problems. And almost every one of them says, I can never satisfy my parents. These are white kids in Melbourne who are saying, I can... Bante, by the way, is also from Melbourne. Yeah, and he is also a psychologist. All right, and these kids are saying, and Western kids, we are worse. We always want them to reach higher and higher. Tapi ingat, tak 5 jari sama. Okay? You may be very clever. Don't expect your son to be as clever as you in your field of expertise. Okay? That's important. And education is not making everybody equally clever. Education, by definition, is making every individual become the best human being he can be. Education is making every individual human being the best individual that he can be. Remember Chuang Tzu? Chuang Tzu. You know him, okay? The Lao Tzu guy. Okay, okay. Chuang Tzu. Chuang Tzu. Samarawickrama කියන්ට කියමු. Okay. Anyway, he said, if a man is born with 6 fingers, do not try and make it 5. If you do, he will feel pain. At the same time, if you have 5 fingers, don't go and try and make it 6. If you do, you will feel pain. The legs of the duck are short. If you try to make it long, the duck will feel pain. The legs of the stork are long. If you try to make it short, the stork will feel pain. So if your son is an idiot and you try to make him an Einstein, he will feel pain. Okay? So what that means is, basically, You got to recognize your child for what he or she can do. All right? And that don't impose your needs on him. Okay? Right. Be skillful. Protect his income earned righteously. To be happy, you must protect. This is the Buddha's word. Protect the income that you earn righteously. Okay? Then, have good friends. Have friends. No problem. But they have to be faithful, learned, virtuous, liberal. What we call Kalyana Mittata. Kalyana Mitra is a spiritual friend. Friends who support you. Not friends who run away at the first sign of danger. Okay? And live within your means. Live within your means. Throw away your ATM card. Okay? Right. How do you use? You must invest your money, the Buddha says. Yeah? You must enjoy some of your expenses. Yeah? You are lay people. Yeah? One portion of your earning must be to take your children to a restaurant or whatever, to spend on holidays and so on. Yeah? Share some of it with family, friends and relatives. This reminds me of Visakha. Visakha was a multi-millionairess. She was a very, very rich woman. Alright? But she was, and she was a follower of the Buddha. Importantly, the Buddha did not tell her to give her all his money and become a nun. She was not ready to become a nun. She remained as a multi-millionairess until she became a grandmother, then she became a nun. But that's not the point. On the day she got married, her father gave her 10 pieces of advice. Yeah, and among that was, inside fire, don't take outside. Outside fire, don't bring inside. Alright? Sleep happily. Wake up happily. Tend the household fire. Look after the household fire. What does it mean? Inside fire, don't take outside. Whatever problems had happened inside the house, don't go and tell your neighbor, you know my husband, a useless fellow. Every time come home late, no money. Also, every time in debt, my husband, I cannot tahan one. Don't go and tell the neighbors. Okay, if you really have to speak, go to a mirror and say what you want. Okay, but inside fire, don't take outside. Outside fire, don't bring inside. All this rubbish that goes on among your neighbors, so-and-so running away with so-and-so, the maid never eat 3 days, all that you don't have to bring into your house. That dirt, leave outside fire, don't bring inside. Inside fire, don't bring outside. Okay? Now, sleep happily. Women, you are going to be very unhappy when you hear this. Sleep happily. Go to bed after your husband has slept. Wake up happily. Wake up before he does. But I've been looking at that for 30 years. I'm wondering if all of us followed that rule, where we're going to get babies from. And, but that is right. That's your duty as wives. In the Sigalova Sutra, the Buddha tells very clearly what are her rights. Her duty, he has said. Her rights, the husband has to give her presents at the right time. He must give her presents. So this stupid thing called Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, all of these, now we're going to get Housewives Day, okay, and all of that. Okay, so there are rights, there are responsibilities, okay. Share some of it, save for emergency. You must invest and you must save, okay. The Buddha taught that one should lead a balanced life, middle way. Live within means, don't worry about what your neighbors or your relatives will think. Be honest with yourself, and everybody in the family must agree on how much you want to spend and how much you don't. One should not indulge in vice activities that can dissipate oneself. That's Parabhava Sutra, the causes for downfall. Okay? Master and servant, assign work that's suitable, give proper compensation, care for him when he is in ill health, share pleasant things with him. The Buddha 2500 years ago talked about bonus. And he said, yes, during festivals, you must give ornaments to your servants. And you must feed them correctly. Don't make them work beyond their capability. Alright? And he was almost like directly talking to us today. Alright? And something we follow, we always teach our children, you don't be rude to Kaka. Without Kaka, who's going to do all your dirty work for you? If she leaves, you can do all this yourself. Cannot, right? Alright? So she has to be treated with respect for what she can do. In return, she has to respect her. Don't steal our money. Don't go and talk bad about us to the neighbors and tell everything. These people have no food, yesterday. That kind of things you don't go and tell outside. Okay? The servants have responsibilities. Okay? A servant there, it says that. Get up in the morning before the master. Almost like the wife. Alright? Go to bed after the master. Always be honest. Take pains to do his work well. Jangan curi tulang. And try not to bring discredit. I've just mentioned that. Okay? Right. Relationship with others should associate with the wise. Yeah, that is from the Mangala Sutra. Okay? Asevana cha balanam panditanam cha sevana. Alright? Should recognize among his acquaintances those he should not associate. The Buddha says, when you find a friend who tries to take advantage of you, time to cut. Okay? Time to cut. A Buddhist is not necessarily a fool. Okay? Should associate are those who are helpful, willing to share. One of the advices given to Visakha was, give to those who give. Do not give to those who do not give. Give to those, who give. Means that poor relatives, they need your help. Don't worry. Help them. But make sure they either return what you have given them, or at least say thank you and agree. Sometimes they are not in a position to give back. So never lend. This my principle in life: never lend money to anybody. If you lend money to anybody, you have a guaranteed enemy. All right. But if a friend needs help, give it to him. In your mind, it's gone. If it comes back, well and good. Give to those who give. Do not give to those who do not give. Those who don't pay back their debts, second time, third time, stop. Number one. Number two, don't say, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I've got to give. No. You give wisely. Then, those who talk bad about you, you are not obliged to give. Long time ago, a young girl came to me and said, my father is a drug addict. I had no help from him all my life. When I struggled, I managed to go through Form 5. I got a job. Today I am a clerk. I've got a salary. Now my father insists that I give him money because he is my father. And making me feel very guilty. Must I give? I said no. You are not obliged to support your father's drug habit. But you are obliged to feed him. So give him food. Don't give him, he's a child. He doesn't know how to handle money. Right? So if he wants food, yeah. If he wants medicine, yeah. If he wants clothing, yes. But you don't give him cash because you are supporting his drug. If he doesn't want it, you are absolved. If he doesn't want food, too bad lah. But I'm not giving you money because I'm spoiling you. So what it means is, do not give to those who do not give. Okay? Right. The ones whom he should not associate with are those who are greedy, clever talkers, flatterers, and wasters. You know the type of people we meet. Avoid them. Okay? Right. Okay. Layman's happiness. You should observe the 5 precepts, yeah, which is Sila, Shraddha, you should have confidence in your moral, spiritual. Panya, you must develop wisdom, and Chaga, which is generosity. So these are the 4 things as a lay Buddhist in your daily life which you have to develop. Yeah, 4 sublime states we have talked about: Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. And may you be well and happy in your Buddhist life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. This is the last of the series. On the 14th, we are going to have Q&A. Can we invite our driver to come along, please? Yeah. Venerable, will you be available on the 14th? Yeah. I'll be very happy to have you to come and maybe answer doctrinally some questions I may not be able to. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Vijaya. I found it very inspiring. All right. And before we end, do we have any question from the floor? Anyone would like to pose any question for the time being?
Thank you, Uncle Vijaya. But just one question. You talked about living. Have we actually attained Nirvana? Did we actually attain Nirvana? Because you didn't explain to us anything about that in Buddhism and the customary rituals during that. Right. So did we reach Nirvana or we're still here?
Very much so. The course didn't include life and death, yeah. But like everybody else, Buddhists also die, okay. But death is not the end. But we did talk about karma and rebirth, did we not? Yes. Sorry? Yeah, through the Buddhist way of life, through concentration, through following it's much more difficult for lay people, but it can be done. That means it's not impossible to be an arahant as a lay person. That's not the question.
The question actually is, you're talking about the rites of living.
Yes.
What about the customary way a Buddhist approach
funeral? A funeral rite.
Yeah.
Oh, R-I-T-E. Okay. Can be answered very quickly. A Buddhist funeral is the simplest thing. I think, to my mind, a Muslim funeral is a very, very simple affair. A Buddhist funeral is even more simple. All that happens when a person dies is you clean the body, you treat the body with a lot of respect, all right? And then there's absolutely no fear of the dead body. There's no ghosts, no devils to be worried about, all right? You treat the body with respect. The body itself is treated with respect because it represents now, something which helped you. It only represents. Now the Buddha calls it a useless log. Okay? Now, how do you dispose of the body? In any way you want. You can burn, you can, you can bury, you can throw it in the water, if you can throw it in the air if you wish, but there's gravity. So that doesn't matter. All that happens at a Buddhist funeral is once the body is prepared, in the simplest possible manner, alright, with dignity, given appropriate time, not necessarily 1 or 2 days. All right. At that point, monk can be invited to say anicca vata sankara upaddavaya dhammino upajjitva nirujjanti te samvupa samosuko. All that we are invited to reflect on is everything that is compounded must fall apart. So this person that was born, that lived with me, had to pass away. This is the nature, this is the dharma, this is the nature of life, that everything that is constituted must disintegrate. When we disintegrate, never to come back again, that is the final happiness. That is not for the benefit of the dead. That is to remind you your ultimate goal. You see? So a funeral is not to help the living. The Buddha says we can only follow our loved ones to the graveyard or to the crematorium. After that, we go home. Alright? Nothing more we can do. He takes his karma with him. But when we give him that send-off is to remind us we will follow suit. We will go that way one day. Bhante, want to add to that?
The biggest question in the world, everyone knows someone is dying, and we ourselves, we are not thinking we are dying. That's the problem.
That's right. You got the point? That we always don't think we will die. And the whole object of Buddhist practice, we think we are encouraged to think about death every day. I think I told you, I once bought a car, very cheap, which was 4444. Say. Okay? And no Chinese wanted to buy it. But I love the car because every day I look at it, I know I'm going to die. So it was that car was a Buddha image for me. You see? So, but no flowers, no wreaths, no nothing. Alright? Recently, Venerable Abhinyana passed away. And he conducted his own funeral. Even before he died, he conducted his own funeral. It was all on tape. And he said, in Australia, you can't get people to conduct the funeral for me. So it was conducted on tape. You see, no fear of death. Death is something that has to happen. And if we get that mind, and of course the Tibetans have taken it to very, very high levels. Alright, very high levels. And the less fear there is of death, the more sure you are of a happy birth. If you die in fear, then the chances of your getting an unhappy birth is much stronger. You see? But understanding death. But that of course means no suicide. It doesn't mean that that suicide is a cop-out. You cannot cope with life's problem, not allowed either. Okay.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
There's this question written by another person.
Yeah.
It seems, Uncle Vijaya, you mentioned that the Buddha brought Nanda to the heaven to visit the female devas.
Yes.
And the question is, are deva also segregated in terms of gender? Thought they were formless, so how to differentiate between female and female?
The question is, are devas sexually jantina?
They are male devas and also female devas. They are. The invisible beings, those who are dwelling in the earth, here, over trees, in the space, they have their own children. So in the trees, some invisible beings are living with their family, with the children. And when the Karnimita Sutta, you have heard about this, the story of Karnimita Sutta, and why these old monks are frightened. Because all these invisible beings, those who are living on the trees, they couldn't live anymore on top of the trees because all the monks are living, staying on the trees, meditating. So there's no respect for them. So they have to come down with their families, their children. So the higher Devalokas also, they have their families. And there are so many by names also. They are named, their children's names. When you read, there is a sutta called Mahasamya Sutta. It's all telling about the whole families, name of the families of the devas. Yeah.
And there are some heavens which are only devoted to Kamaloka, to the sensual pleasures. Yeah? Okay. The question is, if they are just like us with anger, hatred and all that, why are they called devas?
Yeah, they are using the five senses, no? These Kamalokas.
They have certain powers
Yeah.
and certain grandeurs which are denied to us. Like in our world, the Sultan of Brunei is a deva compared to us. But we are devas compared to people in Darfur. You see? So like that, they have certain pleasures which are denied to us. They have certain powers which we don't have. But that does not necessarily mean they are happier than us.
And also thank you. So some other devas, they don't want to come back to human world because they are all, if they have completed accumulations of all wholesome actions, then they don't want to come back to this human world. They can attain their path of enlightenment there also.
Yes. There are times when you anagami,
Even Rahat.
Even
saint.
Arahant. Yeah, you can get arahanthood from heaven.
From
straight
heaven.
off.
They don't want to come. But they must have completed all these accumulations of 10 perfections and everything. Now halfway they cannot gain enlightenment there. They have to come back. Yeah. And also in the heaven, if you are talking about, there's also, there are Dhamma assemblies like this meeting.
Last question.
Last question.
I would like to direct this question to Bhante.
Yeah. Thank you.
Buddhism teaches us to respect and take care of our parents. Buddhism teaches us to respect and take care of our parents. But if a person want to become a monk or a nun, he or she would have to be away and would not be able to take care of the parents. So this is a conflicting view. So how do Bhante reconcile this?
Actually, it's a great merit for parents. If a son or a daughter become a monk or a nun, it's a great merit for parents. Yeah, see, it is not like people offer the material things to the sangha, the material things like food and things like to offer a son or a daughter. The parents, they are very happy to do that. Some parents, they are not neglecting parents or showing the respect or anything. So also parents, if they are poor, they cannot survive themselves. So monks, we have a duty and responsibility to look after parents. Even we can build a kuti and we can make them stay with us, and we can give food and shelter, and we can help parents. Even when we go alms round in the village, even whatever the food we collect from our bowl, we can feed our parents.
So, Bhante, so you are saying that even after the person become a monk or a nun, he or she can still have contact with the family.
Of course, we have to. Yeah, we can't neglect them. Yes.
When the Buddhism first came to China, because of Taoism and Confucianism particularly, there was a great deal of opposition to this. That it was considered a very wrong thing not to carry the family name for men. But the resistance broke down after some time. Okay, but even today, when Chief Reverend started this novitiate program, a lot of parents were very angry when the boys wanted to become monks. So that mindset of filial piety. So that's where the Confucianism is at odds with Buddhism. But as the Reverend was saying, the Buddhist way of looking at it is, it's a great thing for the parent. It's much better to have produced a son who wants to become a monk, because karmically they gain a lot. They don't lose at all. It's a matter of pride when the son decides to go and become a monk, not the other way around. It's not a loss, it's a gain. Mindset.
Okay, thank you, Bante, and thank you, Uncle Vijaya.